Donovan Mitchell got traded. Let's break the ice, right? And the fans were telling us we should have did an emergency pod yesterday. They wanted to know how we were feeling. And Riv, the fans have been really gassing you up in terms of, well, I can't wait until Riv gets on the show because the way he's going to respond to Joel. So I'm curious. You've had time to prepare. You've had time to say what you want to say. So I'll let you go first.
Well, I always go first. So, Joel, yesterday, it was all fun and games, Donovan gets traded. We all get the news. I'm adding you immediately. Knicks are L.
That was insane. The tweet was nuts.
Yeah, it was really, comedy relief, of course. Then more details started to surface. We started to see the trade that was sent in July, which was fucking nuts. That was a better deal than the Cavs deal. And more reports started coming out. So I took a day to think about shit. And I don't blame the Knicks. The Knicks I don't blame them for declining that deal, the latest one. I don't blame them. Ainge was just being stubborn. He's being asked to the Knicks. He ended up taking the Cleveland deal, which was lesser than the Knicks deal. So the Knicks didn't take an L. I don't think they took an L because they essentially would have gave up way more than Cleveland. Cleveland gave up two players that didn't play Sexton, he really didn't play last year.
Sexton's still good at basketball.
No, but I'm saying they gave him two players that didn't have anything to do with the success that they had last year.
Or the future. They didn't. Sexton wasn't the future of their team.
Laurie's expendable, and they gave up picks. You have to do it to make those type of moves, especially for a small market team or a team that's not going to get a lot of players in free agency. The Knicks don't get it now, but you get it now, and I'm gonna tell you why you get it now. You've been going crazy this summer. Oh, we get Donovan. We're better than the Bulls. We're better than the Raptors. You didn't get Donovan. Last year, you didn't get Katie and Kyrie. You didn't get Zion. You have just been running around screaming we're going to get people, and you just don't get them. So now that, the dust is settled, I think we're all smart at this table. We all have a podcast. We have to do our jobs. I understand that. So now that the dust is settled, I ask you a question. Really simple question. I don't want to. What's the next step for the Knicks? You don't get Donovan. You've been screaming that you'll get Donovan. He makes you a playoff lock. You now paid $340 million to mid, and freaking mid. Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, who has a lot of potential. He's good right now. And Julius Randle. You paid Mitch too. What's the next step? Because now Donovan goes to Cleveland. That's another team that's better than the Knicks, which means I counted in my brain, because I'm looking at my conference, 10 to 11 teams better than the Knicks, which makes you a lottery team. You might not, what's crazy? You might not get a top 5 pick because there's teams in the West that might be worse than you. And then there's a few teams in the East that's worse than you. So you'd be stuck in that 8 to 12 range. And you still have Tibbs as a coach. You have Jalen Brunson. You have Julius Randle pretty much locked at the 1 and 4 for right now. That can change. RJ Barrett is locked at the 3 spot. You picked up Quinn Grimes, who Tibbs is, I guess the team is, I don't know what they're going to do with him. He can sit. He can start. Quickly's also there. What they're going to do with him? Who's going to start the 2 spot? And then you get another pick. That can change things. So I ask you, what's the next step for the Knicks? How do you get out of mediocrity? You're not even mediocrity. I suck. But how do you get out of that to get to the playoffs?
Before I answer your question, the topic at hand is, we're the Knicks losers of this Donovan Mitchell trade. You yourself said no.
Nope.
Somebody who's been hypercritical of the Knicks. You laugh at the Knicks' demise, so did the entire internet. Now, yesterday I recorded my live reaction to the trade. And that was my reaction. You can go check it out, the Joel Moran YouTube channel. That was my reaction. Emotional. And even in those moments of grand emotion, I still understood and had some type of perspective. Today is my response. Did I lose? Absolutely not. Wow. In fact, there are other losers that I want to point out while I talk about the Knicks. But first of all, you're right. Back in July, the offer was Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett. It was Mitchell Robinson and 3 first-round picks, and the Jazz declined.
That's crazy.
That offer. Now, I'm not even sure if I believe that report, but if that was the offer, I'm glad the Jazz declined. But our final offer was Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett, and 2 first-round picks. Now, if Danny Ainge wants to be stubborn and take that Cleveland deal because he despises the Knicks, then I'm all for it. My excitement this entire offseason was pairing up Mitchell with R.J. Barrett. It was not giving up R.J. Barrett. No. I said multiple times on this table, let's give up 5 of our young players as long as it's not R.J. Barrett. So I'm fine with Mitchell going to Cleveland. And I looked at the big-time trades in the past decade. 2011 Carmelo trade. Denver won that trade. The Knicks lost. When you look at long-term, Denver got Jamal Murray from that trade. 2011 Darren Williams to the Nets. Utah traded Darren. Utah won that trade. 2011 Chris Paul trade. The Clippers won. 2012 Dwight Howard trade. Orlando surprisingly won. They got Nikola Vucevic from that trade and made the playoffs first before the Lakers.
How did the Utah Jazz win the Darren Williams trade?
They were able to successfully build around Gordon Hayward and make multiple playoff appearances.
Interesting.
They got Derek Favors from that trade.
Okay.
Like
that Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer team was pretty solid, though, but all right.
Oh, but on the Nets. Darren Williams did nothing.
No,
on
you're
the
right.
Nets.
You're right. I don't disagree.
2013 KG and Pierce. Yeah. So Brooklyn, we know Boston won.
Easily.
Absolutely.
2014 Kevin Love to Cleveland. Cleveland won. They won a championship. 2017 Kyrie trade to Boston. I would say Cleveland won.
I think both lost.
They got Colin Sexton from that deal, which ultimately led to getting Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like 7 years later.
2018 Kawhi trade. Toronto won. They won a championship. 2019 AD trade. The Lakers won. They won a championship, but the Pelicans, young core, they're creeping in.
Very even trade.
Yeah, win-win for
2019 Paul George trade to the Clippers. I would say that's still
TBD.
a wait and see.
TBD.
If the Clippers don't win a championship, they would lose that trade. And then a 2021 James Harden trade, he goes to Brooklyn. I would say Houston has won that trade since James Harden's not on Brooklyn anymore. Teams that have traded their stars have won the trade 50% of the time or more. The only times teams have won the trade are when it's resulted in a championship. Did I ever say Donovan Mitchell made the Knicks a championship team? I said a playoff lock. Championship team? No. Which means if we would have made this trade, looking in hindsight statistically, we probably would have lost. Now, who are the real losers? Well, that's easy. The Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are the real loser of the Donovan Mitchell trade because they traded 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray, and the Hawks are nothing more than a play-in team. The Chicago Bulls traded for Vucevic, who's on an expiring deal, traded Wendell Carter and Franz Wagner. You signed DeMar DeRozan, who's an aging star. Your point guard you signed for $80 million won't even start the season. He's always injured. You can't count on him to be durable and to play. The Chicago Bulls have aging stars. One of their best players on an expiring contract. The point guards can't stay healthy. They aren't a real threat in the East. But they went all in last offseason to be one. And then the Miami Heat. You've seen every team around you get better while you got worse.
That's crazy that you say that because
those are the real losers. Because the Cavs now are a team that has the potential to make some real noise in the East. The Bulls are not. The Hawks are not. The Heat, wait and see. I can't count out Eric Spoelstra,
I agree.
But I'm leaning towards, when looking at the talent on the team, they are not. What do I know the Knicks are? We're going to be bad. In 2020, I wanted us to be bad to get a Cade Cunningham, to get a Scotty, to get an Evan Mobley, Jalen Green. We got the 4th seed. This year is our legit chance to get a top pick in a loaded draft class. Now, I'm ecstatic because I know the direction the Knicks are going in. We're not going to be in that play-in hunt and get a meaningless 8th seed in the East or 10th, 9th seed in the East. We'll be worse, and I'm fine with that. But the Bulls, Hawks, Heat are the real losers in all of this.
Let me ask you about the Raptors.
The Raptors have Scotty. They have a future.
I agree. I'm glad you said that because I wholeheartedly agree.
Do you think the Bulls have anybody that has that type of upside or future?
Scotty upside? No.
What do you guys have?
Well, that's why you didn't include them.
No, but you threw out a lot of losers, which you didn't lose the trade, but you mentioned it. The Cavs got better. Their core is very young. They're going to be together for a while.
Awesome.
Miami didn't get better, but they're still better than y'all. The Bulls probably didn't get much better. But no, because this man ran up. He ran. I think you said one time, we get Jalen Brunson, we'll fight for the play-in. So,
we will. We'll be.
But you just said you're happy to be trash. So which one is it? You'll fight for the play-in, or you'll
we'll
be trash?
fight for the play-in. 11 seed is still out the play-in. We'll fight for it.
So if you could go back in time to before free agency, would you still sign Jalen Brunson, give him $100 million?
100%.
Or just commit to the tank?
Jalen Brunson is on a 4-year contract. I think he fits a timeline of what our team wants to do. He'll make us competitive, and we need a point guard. We haven't had a point guard, a good point guard in 20 years. But if you really
want to commit to the tank, because like Riv said, if you're in that 8 to 12 pick, do you think it can be bad enough to have a
draft
top 6
good
pick?
enough at first?
We'll draft good enough at first.
But also,
pardon me. Do you think you'll just draft good enough with the front office you have right now?
With the NBA draft lottery, it's not crazy to think that the Knicks could just sneakily jump into that top 5.
Who are players that the Knicks have drafted in the last couple of years? Quinn Grimes was a good pick. Emmanuel Quickley was a good pick. Obi Toppin, when he plays, he's good. That was a good pick.
When he plays,
Deuce McBride, even in the second round, I think for what he for.
It sounds like you guys hit on out of the lottery picks.
Okay, so what's gonna happen when we have a top pick?
We don't know if you hit.
Obi was lottery.
He was the
Obi was a lottery pick, and he's
Kevin Knox was ass.
He's
bust.
not our regime.
He's not the same.
The first player our current regime drafted was Obi Toppin.
So that's the only lottery pick you've had, right?
Yeah.
I can't say he's a bust. Not yet. It's not. But I can't say he's. I don't know. Like his potential when he plays, he's good. But it's like, when is he gonna play? You know?
It all depends on trading Julius Randle. And I think the next step for the Knicks is hopefully dealing Julius Randle. The Knicks have said we're not done this summer. I don't know if that means trading Julius, getting a Buddy Hield or Miles Turner. They're not done this offseason.
That just makes you.
Summer ends
the Knicks.
You know what I mean?
The Knicks.
Summer's over September.
Right now, because of how competitive the Eastern Conference is, even the Knicks at their absolute best, I think, are falling out the playoffs.
Right.
Which means we're going to get a lottery pick. And I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. After thinking about it, this is my response. And I think the real losers in the East are teams that went all in all last offseason, the Bulls went all in. We know that's not going to pay off long term. At least I am pretty sure of it.
Hindsight's 2020.
The Hawks went all in with DeJounte Murray, all in, quote unquote, traded 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. And I don't think he puts them over the top, not even close. And the Miami Heat, losing PJ Tucker, and we have said it on this table this entire offseason. They get a scorer like Donovan Mitchell, they can win the championship. But now you don't get a player like that. You lose PJ Tucker. I don't count on these players on Miami to really compete with the teams like Milwaukee, like Boston, like Philly, like Brooklyn.
This is Vooch's last year.
I know he's on an expiring.